Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I again had just seen a video over the last couple of days from somebody that had got me into doing what I'm even doing now, and we're going back over a decade here. Bear in mind, this channel is only 7 years old, so this channel is responsible for even getting me interested in this in the first place. Now, of course, I have gone my own direction, but this guy has not budged on anything that he's ever put out in the first place. I am not going to say his name, but if he does see the video, he will know that I've addressed this site because of his last video. That's all I will say on that. I have got two screenshots only from his video, which are right at the very end of this because they prove without any doubt the information that I am going to put out here, and it's specifically on what he calls stone cutting. Right, so he's still going across with the mainstream, let's say, megalithic community narrative. I've gone my own way. I'll also say this: in the last video, I threw out a text on the screen asking what are nubs really, because these nubs across the world, there's so many different types and shapes. It was just an idea, because if you came across that video for the first time, you would think that I was trying to answer all nubs, all ancient nubs, by suggesting that they were calcified pieces of wood like what I'm showing here. Well, they're not. Most nubs were actually made from the processing of concrete, many of which I have answered through this channel. I've likely made up to 6 videos showing multiple different methods, ways that you would likely end up with these shapes, these nubs that you get across many sites, mostly Roman really. I would say 75% of them are indeed from some type of processing, and the rest are from either calcification, well, let's say petrification of wood like I've just shown you, or where, let's say, metal girders, rebar were ended up poking through the concrete and just calcified over. But in this video here, I have to address this. Now I'm going to draw some shapes on these screens because we cannot say that all these little round pebbles, we can't say that you can just build an entire wall just by stacking these things up. This is not like drywalling. Yeah, you could not pile all that up in a straight line, a straight wall, without any binder, any concrete or anything to keep it in place, because the thing would just collapse within a day really. So it would have to be held in place with some type of inner skeleton. That's what I am pointing out here, and it's also another reason how I have explained how most of these cracks, what they call polygonal masonry, is the reason why they crack in the first place. And it's hard because I address one site, and then automatically people that are new to this, they see that I'm pointing out something logic, but in their brain they'll go straight to a site which it doesn't explain. But you can't just throw a blanket over everything. So I am only addressing this specific site here and these specific blocks. So I am going to zoom in on the niche over on the right. This is a close-up of it. Now I am pointing out, or you should be able to recognize that that is the skeleton that I am talking about, and it would indeed be wood. That's what it looks like. It's an imprint. It's either calcified or it's an imprint. And the square holes that you're looking at is, where it was hammered into place, it was held into place, or they were prongs of some type to be able to smear some type of plaster over it. Anyway, this is from some area around this zone, right? And there's still some paint left on it. Now, what they eventually smeared over the prongs I've just tried to explain is what the blocks are made out of themselves, and it is just, well, it just looks like soft clay, doesn't it? If you look at these blocks here, I've shown this in a site in India. In my opinion, all these little holes that you're looking at is not from where archaeologists have come and maybe taken a an implement and just chiseled away at all these blocks, yeah, to maybe remove some moss or something. What that looks like to me is it's like a binder. It's like they mixed it with straw or hay, grass, yeah, to hold it all in position. So I would say these specific polygonal blocks here were made. If you can imagine taking huge clumps of this clay, what these blocks are made out of, what they later hardened into, because it's got the binder inside the grass or straw, yeah, so then you place it into the wall and you just keep on doing that over and over again and patting it down, and eventually, because you've placed it in sections, in little balls, which eventually flatten out on the edges as you're piling it up, you end up with a polygonal wall, right? So to further my point of making large balls of this mixture, mixed with a binder, placing it into the wall and just building it up, it looks like that they held them in place as well, because I can't see any other reason for the holes that's all across this wall. And not only that, I noticed that they are all just about in the center of each polygonal piece. Now when I look at that, it confirms everything that I'm trying to explain here. It's how you would hold each piece in place as it's hardening. I can't see any other explanation for that. Anyway, this image here, the circle, you can see the holes. It's running down the entire wall in sections. That's where the main pillars, the main wood supports throughout this entire wall were, to keep it stable, which eventually rotted away or were removed at some point. Also, this image here, when I've seen these all over the place on all sides, and we're always told that this is where we're able to run water down from miles away. These little grooves here, which never really made any sense. I just thought that they'd eventually get poisoned or end up going stale. I think they would have done that, obviously, at some point, but it would have been done through piping, not just left out in the open. But I would say this is where another piece of the inner skeleton went, and it's just eroded away. So I'll leave you with the rest of it. But when I see sites like this, the paving that they've uncovered, they would also say that this was put down in polygonal blocks, but no, it's the same as what I've just been pointing out across the wall. It's just natural cracking.